Scott, you okay?
Hello, Bob Silver.
We need a white balance.
A what balance?
It's not a rainbow balance? You don't have a rainbow balance switch on there? Hello, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to ComFest, and welcome to the Columbus Communities Forum. This is very exciting for me. I got three very dynamic people to talk about Columbus. We all talk about Columbus all the time, but these people have some very unique perspectives on it. We are in a city that is changing a lot. We've kind of known that Columbus is a good place to live for a long time. And now the development in Columbus has expanded. Anyone who is bored in Columbus is not doing something right, because this is just not a boring town. There's always something going on, something musical, something artistic, something cultural, and it's accelerating. And we want to talk a little bit about the present, maybe a little about the past, and about the future of Columbus. So I'm going to let these people introduce themselves to you. Hello, young lady. Hello. We're trying to do a workshop. You want to do it outside?
What he means to say is welcome to the workshop. Have
Welcome
a
to
seat.
the workshop.
We're going to talk about Columbus.
Kicking you out. It's like, hello, we're here.
My name is Travis Haywisher. I'm the editor-in-chief for 614 Magazine. Longtime volunteer for ComFest. I also do stand-up comedy and pretty much enjoy promoting all things positive in Columbus, specifically the arts and culture of our fair city.
Whoop, whoop. That was appropriate. My name's H.A. Vanderelli, or Alicia Jean Vanderelli. I run the Vanderelli Room. I also do community outreach programs, work with some kids, which I received the ComFest grant for this year, to do a summer workshop for children with and without disabilities in the form of art. That's that.
That was really good.
Yeah.
I'm Bobby Silver. I'm an artist, musician, and business owner in Old Town East. I own Yellow Brick Pizza and Arcade Super Awesome. Yeah. Yay! Pizza, pizza, pizza. And, I also try to keep a good eye out in the community and try to do things that I think are good. I think I was introduced as an activist. I don't feel that I'm an activist. I feel like I'm
changing shit.
Pretty good neighbor, but I don't consider myself an activist because there's people that are like in prison because they're activists. So I wouldn't want to take that from them. But I do like all things good, much like Mr. Haywisher said.
I think he's a good neighbor is the perfect way to describe it. Like people that care about their overall community and the actual like immediate surroundings and the people they interact with.
Yeah, I came up with an interesting perspective here about what Columbus is about and where it's going. So I'm going to do this. So I'm from Budapest, Hungary. That's where I was born. I grew up in Cleveland, went to school in New York, lived in Boston for a few years, moved here to visit a friend of mine for 2 weeks in 1973. That was in July. In September, I went back to Boston, got my belongings, and I've been here ever since. What about you, Travis?
I came here to go to Ohio State University, like many people, and to be totally honest, my true experience in Columbus as a city is only about 6 years old, which is about the age of the magazine. So I lived in the suburbs, commuted to smaller towns, worked in newspapers. Whenever anybody has anything nice to say about 614 Magazine, I always tell them the absolute truth, which is that the city's evolution is as old as the magazine. So the moment the city started changing and a lot of this creative energy started bubbling up to the surface was the exact time that we started. So we got to be there to kind of chronicle all the stuff that you honestly see on Showcase every year at ComFest.
Yeah. For me, I grew up in Panama City, Florida, and then moved to Columbus because some girl that I used to work with at a head shop in Florida, she moved here, needed a roommate. I was like, okay. Came here, lived here for a year, moved to Atlanta. Eventually, through whatever, ended up back here in 2003. So I've lived in Columbus for 13 years, solid now at this point, and ended up really reaching out to the arts community over the last 5 years, I would say. Very limited, like worked in office and cubicles and call centers and doing all these really cool, not cool things, and bored. And everybody I worked with was like, why are you here? I don't. It's
That's a good thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a paycheck.
When you're working in a cubicle, people are like, "What are you doing here?"
Of their kids.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, they're like, I don't really know what you're doing, and I was good at my job, but it was like I would cry all the time. I just hated it. It was just mundane bullshit. And then eventually, ended up reaching out to the arts community. Actually, it was through this not 614 magazine, but 614 Arts and Artists page on Facebook. Got me really connected and plugged into our arts community. And then I was like, oh, I found my tribe. And then started the gallery. So, yeah.
Let's see. I came to Columbus in 1993. I'm originally from Akron, Ohio.
Just a kid from Akron, Ohio.
Just a kid from
Bobby
Akron,
Silver.
Ohio. Go Cavs!
Is that a song? Is that a song? Or
Catchphrase.
Oh, okay. Just a kid from
I went
Akron.
to high school with one of LeBron James's Four Horsemen. Anyway, I'll get into that later. But, I'm pretty much LeBron. I'm pretty much a champion.
You do. You've got a leopard on your... Oh, no.
It's a panther.
It's a panther. I meant to say panther on your neck. Rawr.
Rawr. So, yeah, when I got here, I went to art school at CCAD. I graduated from CCAD and immediately fell on my face and started working at a restaurant. I had 3 different jobs in the arts. I had a job at the Wexler Center for the Arts, Greater Columbus Arts Council, and there's another one. Anyway, I had a bunch of jobs. I kind of fucked them all up. Oh, excuse me. I kind of messed them all up at the same time. Went into restaurants and, became a pretty bad server. But I fell in love with the culture of restaurants, and all the people that worked within those restaurants became my, friends and kind of champions. And eventually, I worked at the Care Bar, and then eventually me and my girlfriend at the time went down the street to Yellow Brick, and they were hiring, and then within 6 months we owned the place because we were able to figure out how to finance it. And then that's kind of where all the creativity and eccentricness of that particular business came from, is just a huge squad of artists that came together to make a really good pizza, a lot of like-mindedness, really great vibe, and just kind of support each other, with buying each other's art and with making each other happy and having fun and, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, the reason I wanted to do that is because I think this is what the characteristic of the growth of the city is about. There's a lot of people that have come from all over trying to survive, and somehow this city has provided, these 3 very creative people in different areas a way to survive and thrive in Columbus. And I think that is, and including our MC, she is entrepreneurial
It's your tribe.
too.
It really is your tribe. You're finding
Yeah.
your people, your
So,
community.
I think that's the point I wanted to make, is what is it about Columbus that makes it so comfortable for people and makes it possible for this development to blossom the way it is. And I know ComFest is, we're very adamant about every competing element in the community, whether it's radio stations or newspapers or commercial ventures, to leave the competitiveness at the door. But I'm in the music business, and I find we have an incredible music scene, and most of the musicians talk to each other. There's not the cutthroat competition. There's cooperation. People help. Jazz people play with rock bands.
It is like everything that I've noticed. Like, is that through community you're able to achieve more. So why be competitive? Because there's so many skill sets that somebody else is stronger suited with. You know what I mean? So like if somebody's like, oh, I need a graphic designer, or I'm looking for like this person, and like you're networked with somebody, so you understand that, and you can plug that person's name. I mean, it's
AJ,
really important.
you mean it's powered by community?
It is so powered by community. I mean, that's really the only way to survive.
Well, we fell in love with that
It's
slogan because
so
it
the
is
only
powered
way to
by-
survive. I mean, like people wanted to buy. That was another experience we had on another stage today. It's like keep you separated and you're fucking weak. But like united and networked, you're a whole person.
But Travis, what do you think? The driving forces.
I mean, honestly, the tribal mentality I think is very, very powerful here. I think to go one step like before that, the word that I always use is access. Like, it's funny because I've known AJ for a little while now, and I honestly just would have gone under the assumption that she's just been a rad art organizer for 20 years. And when I hear her say that she came from kind of the cubicle world and kind of like found her tribe kind of recently, that's both like mind-blowing and also like, well, fucking of course, that's what Columbus does. And like, to me, I see it like either through like comedy shows or through hanging out at your favorite local bar or pizza place, or even just from interviewing people for the magazine. You have these people that come here from either small town Ohio, which is me. I'm the traditional Columbus transplant that saw Columbus as the big city and was like desirous to be here, and I'm glad that I'm here. But the Columbus that I wanted to come to is very different than what it is now, and for better measure. And so then I see all these people who are like, I just moved here because my husband got a job, and we moved here from Boston or from Texas or from San Diego. And like, sometimes it feels like they're here for like 5 days and they've already got like some happy hour that they love, or some group, or like they came to ComFest, or they went to Independence Day, or they go to Yellow Brick every Wednesday, they go to Bodega every Sunday for trivia. And like, it just seems like there's something about this city, and I can't say I've lived in too many others, but there's something about this city that is a city of transplants. But it's almost kind of like, it's like a weird convention, right?
It is.
It's like everybody that calls this place home has also like, feels like they've been here for 6 months. So when somebody arrives new, they're like, yeah, come on in here. It's like when people bond at like a hotel, at like a convention. But that's like Columbus for the last like 15 years. And I felt that way, and I love watching it happen all the time in real time. It's pretty awesome.
It is.
Yeah, I think that no matter where we're always going to want more cultural sustainability, no matter what, you know. And I think that's always the $21 million question. You know, is just how do we get to have, you know, how we do, even though we're a transient place, how do we not have just transient culture and have real staple culture here? Things you can really depend on, cultural institutions, getting those institutions to work with each other and kind of, you know, beefing up culture, arts and culture in Columbus. What is going to be the fast track, the steroid, if you will, to kind of keep people here and interested? And you know, the answer that which is we've been talking about the whole time is obviously the people here are really great people, and we've all been able to create things that we really wanted for ourselves and for the community here. And you know, it's a really beautiful thing to be a part of. I want to leave just because of the humidity, because I cannot breathe. But
It's
I
very
stay,
short.
I stay. I can't breathe, but I'll stay.
Another
So-
good catchphrase. I can't breathe, but I'll stay.
Oh, I did not
for the
mean-
culture.
Don't do that to me.
It's
I
only
did
for
not
like
mean-
a day,
You're an
really.
asshole.
Grow up in Panama City, man. Seriously, you can't breathe like 90% of the year.
I know.
And the
It probably
bugs
could
are
be worse.
gigantic.
Yeah.
The bugs are smaller in Columbus. That's why I stay. Much
So-
smaller.
What do you guys think are some of the problems associated with this kind of growth, besides the fact that we can't park anywhere and we have to
Well,
pay till 10 o'clock at night?
I want to jump in right now because it
Okay.
was like literally like something I was thinking about before, and it's news media, and it's not just because Travis is sitting here from the 614 magazine, but I'm thinking about like networking and sharing information. So like as a community, like through Facebook or like whatever social media, everybody's sharing everything. But the one place where people don't share is with like news. Like everybody wants to hoard it for themselves. Like we have the best subject to talk about. We have like the most horrific, like the most all of the things. But like, why aren't you guys sharing?
Well, that's why I did this workshop, so we could have the best
like
workshop.
Arts, like in the arts, like there's still like people that are like still like want to keep their processes secret, or which I understand, or to a certain degree. But instead of like providing information for our children or like for our community, it's like this competition, you know. I think that was like the one thing that popped in my head. So I want to ask you that.
I mean, to reference the media thing, I mean, I've had a lot of personal conversations with people that say that, for example, 614 magazine, we are not a news magazine. We're not a newspaper. We're not even an alt weekly.
Yeah.
Like the format of what we do dictates a little bit of a different style, and people want more critique. They want more pushback and watchdogness for their local government. And I understand that. The really odd part is that like we suffer from a media problem in Columbus. Like for the size of city and for a growing city and for all the different sectors that are engaged, like there's like 4 media outlets. You know, and whenever anybody says like, well, why aren't we not like Austin, or what's different about Columbus or this, like there's 20 publications in Austin. So if your band's good, everybody knows your band's good because 17 of those publications said you were good and 3 were like, eh. In Columbus, you got a monthly, you got a weekly, you got the daily newspaper, you got Columbus Underground and a handful of news stations that all kind of pretty much do the same thing. They'll pretty much report on the same thing. I mean, not to sidestep the media thing, but like, I think the way to protect what Columbus is, and that could be either 2005, 2016, or 10 years from now, is really truly promoting what is authentic about the city.
Yeah.
That is subjective as a word, but like we get stuck on good, bad, best, worst, biggest, smallest. Like,
Hey, that's your magazine, bro.
yeah, like Columbus, I know. But I mean, like, but really though, truly that's what it is. Like, the culture should be reflective of the people, and the media should be reflective of both. Should be reflective of the people and the culture. And sometimes, before I was actually in the Columbus media, I watched magazines try to pretend like Columbus was some fake Soho, trying to pretend like they were like a fake LA. And it rang so hollow and rang so untrue that it was corny and douchey, for lack of a better term. And I think overall, whether it's ComFest or whether it's the different entrepreneurs in the businesses, like, do you guys notice that like we should celebrate Cameron Mitchell, we should celebrate things like that, but at the same time we can also have this huge groundswell of Joe DeLoss and Bobby Silver and AJ and all these different people doing different things. Like the access again is so unbelievable that like we have different authentic entrepreneurs entering the scene in all their sectors every year that also are like real locals. That's really what it comes down to. That's very, very subjective, but like I think you kind of know the difference, right? Yeah. You know the difference between somebody that's like, yeah, you know, I live in New Albany and I come to Red, White, and Boom once a year. That person is never going to have the best interest or the authentic pulse of Columbus in their mind. They're just not.
And people, they like we were talking about, it's a transient place. You know, people come from everywhere. So what can you bring here from somewhere else? I mean, theoretically, that would make a pretty amazing place if everybody brought their own form of authenticity here, you know? And so I just want to encourage people, like, to do that, you know? I am a peacock from Akron, Ohio. I was this way before I got here, and I am going to continue to be doing whatever the hell that I want if, you know, given the chance. And I think that more people should be like that. I don't want, you know, like there's a lot of restaurants that don't have no art on the wall, you know who you are. And there's lots of opportunity. There's lots of empty walls all over the city for public art. We need to, I think, you know, just dial the place up a bit. We've been doing a real good job ever since I got here. The place just keeps getting cooler and cooler, and that's, you know, that's what I would like to see, you know, just more cultural altogether. And, you know, when they're throwing up like every stupid, shitty new building in the city all over the place, Italian Village, you look like garbage. You know, like, I mean, nobody's gonna live. Anyway, I could go on about this shit, but I really don't want to spend too much time on it. But there's a lot of buildings that don't look right. You know, there's not a lot of time put into them. You know, they get 50% tax abatement, and then, like, the shit goes up everywhere. Nobody stops anybody from building anything because the people that are building it are the ones that are passing it. So it doesn't even matter. So, but, like, get involved with your neighborhoods, you know, and if you don't want a big, stupid building in your neighborhood, do what you can to stop it. You know, we did it once, but...
Yeah.
Or tell them what you want different. That's the thing. Like, I think people... I didn't mean to step on Bobby's applause.
Oh, no,
there.
please.
But that is the truth, though. Like, I mean, progress is not altogether bad, but, like, it can't just be this extreme thing where... I think we're... Gabor asked what are the negatives. I think it's... For the people that are actually deciding to come here and listen to this, it's probably all in all of our brains, like... the rapid development and the rapid expansion and
the bubble gonna burst, y'all.
Right,
the bubble gonna burst.
And also, like when you keep saying Columbus is great, check out these places. You keep building new places to live, and you can't create new cultural hubs. You can't. I mean, honestly, like you cannot create new places that are walkable. They go, like, oh, look how walkable the shore is. Look how walkable downtown is. Walkable to what? To another apartment complex. That is something to be wary of.
I mean, this is one of the dichotomies I wanted to bring up and ask you guys about. So, to me, when I got here, there were like 3 good restaurants to eat in. Now, you know, there's that many going up every 3-4 days. You know, in Columbus, there's you know, Yellow Brick, Unique Place, Natalie's, another side of town. Everywhere, all over the place, there's new things, and it seems to me that there's a lot of creativity going in from the chefs, from the people opening restaurants, the galleries, the head shops, headies, or you know, the Tiger.
We're taking over.
So, you know,
creatives unite.
So I want to make this point here. So this festival used to be down on campus first, and then we were in a gravel parking lot where Victoria Gate is right now, and that street was full of weird shit going on. And now there's a house on the park that you could have bought for $40,000. It's selling for $1.4 million. There's boutique hotels on the corner. But I feel like I know for a fact that I had friends who were neon sculptors who had a storefront in the short north with blacked out windows doing art in the back, and that's one of the businesses that started. And this is going on, and then it started accelerating. But all those creative people did find a way to start their businesses. And then I know in Victorian Village, I mean here, Victorian Village too, but in this, they're moving out because they can't afford the rent. They're moving up towards Fifth. Then they can't afford the rent there. This is happening now in Franklinton. That's the next place, Old Town.
I don't really want to say that 100%.
Well, Old Town East is the same way. So we have a lot of creative people doing their own thing, creating culture, and then suddenly,
This is the shift that I really wish would happen. I wish that people would take their own responsibility and not hike up the rent to $1,500 on a street you could get murdered on. That would be cool. You know, it's like people are all trying to cash in on shit, but they're not really thinking about people. Like,
They're not
even
thinking
though I'm
about
a
the greater
business
good.
owner, my bottom line is not money. I need to have money to keep my business going. I like to have money. I like nice things, whatever. But you know, like, there's a responsibility with, you know, the neighborhood that you're in. You know, you're being priced out is a very real thing, and you know, a lot of the people that actually are the ones that made the neighborhoods what they are sometimes can't afford to live there. They just kicked all the people out of Bryden House that were, you know, old people that needed a lot of care, and it was very reckless, and there wasn't a lot of accountability in any form with anyone.
You
with
mean
that,
the new West Bexley apartments?
yeah. Oh my
West
God.
Bexley.
Don't even get me started, bro.
Tell me about it. I don't watch the news because it hurts.
Yeah. But you know, like I used to, I mean,
Like, I don't even
watch
know.
the amputees go down the street every single day past my house, wave to them. The amputees were awesome. No more amputees, no more nothing. They're just moving. I mean, it was, you know, they got rid of everybody in that building, no matter however they could, no matter what. So it's just sad, you know, when people are only thinking about money and not thinking about people. Imagine if that was your family. You know, it's just awful, you know, so that's my request is that I would like to put in is you know, have a heart, Jesus Christ, you know? Like, yeah, the city's growing. That doesn't mean, like, get rid of all the loose meat.
so
you know?
what can we do about it?
Well,
Travis,
so-
what
Make
can
the artists move
Good
in,
question.
get them in there, like the artists or the creatives. I'm not talking about.
But they get
painters,
driven out.
Like
So I
all
like-
of the creatives, we need them in the communities because there's an empathy level there, an understanding because we're working through our problems, right? Like as a creative, you're like figuring it out and figuring out how to be a better person, for most of the time.
I would say this. I think I mean, first of all, it's incredibly complex because, first of all, you're talking about like long periods of time. You're talking about 73. He's 93. You know, she's 2003 or, you know, whatever.
I'm
We're all
like now.
like it's a long, complex process. I think one of the biggest challenges is that, like, we scream for urban redevelopment. We scream, look at us. We say, look at Old Town East. Look at Frankton. Look at our potential. I'm sure the galleries and the business owners in the Short North were screaming that while there's gang activity around them, saying like, no, look, if people come and they put in art galleries and they put in coffee shops, they put in bars, we'll push the crime out and this will all turn around. And slowly, glacially, that did. The issue, I think, always is that like urban redevelopment, if you achieve your goals, is going to lead to gentrification without some vision. And that's really, really vague, but
Yeah,
like
that's good.
I feel like if you have any political capital to expend, it's to try to affect the people that have the money and people that have the financial capital to see that like, hey, I know you could make a shit ton of money on this 5 or 10 year tax abatement, but if you live here and your kids are going to live here, just please try to find if there's a way for a 25-year plan that also benefits you in the short term. Because honestly, Columbus really, all that immediate access, I think, is the pro, and the con of that sort of like fresh community is that like we don't have real history. Like in many cases, the people that are developing the city right now were not building buildings 60 years ago. Their grandparents were. And especially, I think, with like Bobby said, with tax abatements, people are like, ooh, it's almost like a strike while the iron is hot. That's why people are flipping houses in OT. That's why people are flipping houses in Franklinton. And they were doing that in Clintonville before. It's not terrible. It's a very natural thing in terms of like an ecosystem.
Like you want to turn a profit. I get it. Like you
But
want
you
to be
can do
able to
both.
like.
That's
but
the
you
thing.
can do it with like compassion. Like
But I don't know if Gabor would feel this way or if you would feel this way, but like if we start talking about like we can't go too extreme anti-capitalism or extreme
Yeah.
pro. And I
That's
think
why
sometimes-
this is an endless subject.
It
But
is.
Because the system
Yeah.
is broke.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I'm
it's
saying
the
whatever you can
people
do that's
that
a
are
middle
broke.
ground.
And like the system is dictated by the people. Like it's like where we are and like what we're like prepared to fucking stand for. You know, like a greater voice. You know, like you speak out so much and then nobody's hearing you, so you stop speaking, right? So like. And if you begin to speak again, and then you're like getting people on your side, then you're united, and you get like the creatives or the supporters of the arts into the communities. You want business owners who are art sensitive and supportive and creative themselves. You want those people. Like for me, like yes, I run a gallery, but like the business aspect of it, I'm not very good at because I'm a creative. I want to paint. I don't want to like sit in front of the computer. So it's like. You need people that can be like that digital voice too, you know, like
Yeah.
all of the aspects.
Well, also just, the worst thing you could do is throw in the cards, It's amazing what people can do when they get together. It's amazing what one person can do. People can only do so much, but so much is a lot. And I believe in every person on planet Earth to do something. If everyone was to worry about, if everyone was to put in their fair share and they all really did care, it would be a much different place. And, what a more perfect time to talk about this hippie shit than ComFest.
Yeah, right.
But I'm honest to God, and there's nothing, I believe completely in the realm of possibility that anything can happen. And so when I say the system is broke, I don't mean to fall down and just accept that, because that is not what I was trying to say. But if people don't do more, don't expect more, and
Exactly.
that goes in terms of development, with our social climate, the way that we interact, the way that we behave, the way that we treat each other, everything. If people want to get together and create something amazing, they will, and I think that we're seeing that more and more in Columbus.
I also think he makes me think of like a really good point, which is, again, it's a slight derivative of a great thing about Columbus. I think there's a lot. What they just say that we're just about to hit 2 million or already have in the general metro area. There are so many people in Columbus living a very, very good, comfortable life that they're not on any extreme end of that spectrum. Like they're just like they're not at ComFest. They're not politically motivated. They're not even shouting from the rooftops how great Columbus is. They're not even engaged because their life is just really good and simple and easy.
They're not paying attention.
Well, no, I'm
They
not saying
don't
it's a
have
bad
to
thing.
pay
No, I'm saying it's a
Yeah.
product of how nice it is to live here.
Yeah.
You can have a house in Groveport and commute to a good job, and you
And
don't
have
you don't
time
care-
for yourself.
Yeah, and you don't care who the city council is. You don't care about road construction. You don't care about any of this local stuff. And like that is a tough challenge. So it's not apathy because people could love Columbus. So to build on Bobby's point, maybe that's the takeaway is to make people care, not make them care about what you care about. Make them care.
Yeah.
And I think it is an uphill fight in a place where you're just sort of like, man, Columbus is great because it's just easy. I think for a lot of people it's easy.
So, one of the reasons I wanted to do this subject and have the three of you on here is because I'm feeling like we're on a tipping point. We're on a tipping point like San Francisco. My neighbor moved out of Old Town East to go back to San Francisco, and she couldn't, and she's in Oakland. And Megan Palmer, who's a musician playing here this weekend, who had moved to Nashville for her career purposes, but, she moved to New York. But she didn't move to New York. She couldn't move to New York. She moved to Brooklyn, So I feel like we're on this tipping point where things are good and there's still a lot of cultural stuff. I don't want it so where the musicians have to drive in from Mount Gilead to be able to play a gig at at Natalie's or somewhere, or the artists have to come out. How can we keep the balance? How can we get that financial, economic community that is an engine here, and the creative community who gives them the content for their engine, because there's a content, which are all the restaurants and the fun things and the pachakchas that draw 700 people, and all this great stuff that goes on here. And then there's the people that are creating the infrastructure to have room for that content and more people. The more people, the more disposable income. The more disposable income, the more specialty store you can start. You can start, almost anything in Columbus now, because people are not afraid of new things because of the creative community that has created a lot of great stuff that go into these buildings, and then they can't pay the rent anymore. So how do we strike this balance?
I don't know, but I just want to know where all this extra money is. Because I don't understand extra money.
There's the ComFest grant. ComFest grant.
I mean, honestly, it's shopping.
Yeah, the restaurants.
It's shopping. I mean, like, there's shopping, and then there's food and booze. Those are like the 1, 2.
That's what people like to do.
They do a lot.
And then they combine news and television with it. And
look,
it's
and
like a
what?
complete experience.
And if anybody thinks that, like, I think we can all admit that, like, the Short North Gallery Hop, there are no galleries to go to.
There's a couple. I'm not going to say there's none.
A few.
There's a couple.
But I mean, like, less by 85%.
It's like more like convention traffic.
Right.
That's why there's no parking anymore.
But if
Nowhere to park.
But if somebody goes to the Short North for Gallery Hop, and as a result they discover the St. James Tavern or the Table or Condado, okay. I mean, like, I think there's certain things that we can focus on specifically, but sometimes I almost feel like it's a new attitude adjustment of being like, we are a growing Midwest city. We have to be reasonable about what our reputation is, not be too testy about growth, but also not just act like anytime, by the way, which is one of my largest pet peeves, anytime the New York Times says, hey, did you know Columbus? It's not just a bunch of people having sex with their cousins and corn,
like
and we
hanging
all
out with
freak
cows.
out. We do. We all. I mean, like, the New York
Yes.
Times comes in and says, like, I had a burger and it was delightful, and we all lose our shit.
Yeah.
It's strange. We're all
cow.
stuck.
Cow
We all
city.
because we're excited for people to be like, great, yeah, you should recognize Columbus as a cool city, but, like, sometimes we fawn over ourselves too much to the point where it's kind of embarrassing, and, like, then I feel like one of those savvy realtors. We're just like, you're nearby an authentic coffee shop, and you're like, what does it mean after a while? Like, what do all those terms mean? I don't know. I just feel like there's no real way to stem that completely, other than to engage with your immediate community, and also look, the bars and restaurants. Let's say bars and restaurants kind of rule the social scene in Columbus. That's pretty fair to agree to, right? Like,
People
no
want
matter
to eat
what,
and drink.
people want to eat and drink.
Yeah.
Do you guys understand how many new places have opened up that you already forgot about because they've already opened and closed? Like, they're gone in the last 2 years, gone. The ones that are authentic and build an authentic culture, even within their own little place, and their employees, they have art on the wall.
Like Yellow
They
Brick.
live where there's art on the wall. Yeah. You take the Vanderelli room and put a pizza oven in the back. It's basically Yellow
I'll
Brick.
talk to my brother.
They're the same
and he'll
places.
start cooking pizza.
But there's precious few new places that are able to actually, like, build that culture kind of organically, because the people that throw out their little own shop there, and they like their employees and they like all their customers, you can't fake that. But when you go into a place in the Short North or Old Town East or Clintonville, that is just somebody who has 3 or 4 different locations. You know the difference.
I think it's funny that we're talking about this because you and I get more work done at a bar than probably anyone else in town.
Of course.
That's how everything I've ever done in this whole town has started out at a bar or a restaurant. And that's why I love what Gabor's got us doing right here, because, like, I've never met AJ before. She seems very wonderful. I want to know, like, a ton more. But, like, that is how everything happens. People meet and something happens, something magical, and then that's how the next thing happened. I wouldn't if I didn't start dating my business partner, I would have never owned this pizza shop. Like, there's just a million different ways that I could tell you how beautiful this town has been to me So I just wanted to say thank you.
We've got about 5 minutes. You want
So
to say
maybe that's
something?
the takeaway. Honestly, maybe that's the takeaway. Like, you're not going to run for city council. You can vote for whatever you want to. Vote with your wallet and vote with your time and conversation.
And buy.
Engage with the coffee shop and the pizza place and the art gallery and the bar by your house and create your own little cultural family in Columbus. And if we create hundreds of those, I guarantee you it will eventually drown out these sort of like faceless developments in cookie cutter apartments.
Yeah, and buy art. Please buy art. If everybody had bought like 2 or 3 pieces a year, we would have an art market here that would be outrageous.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And you know, and then those artists get to eat and have you know, like artists need to be treated a little bit more professionally.
All
you know,
of the
here
creatives.
they need opportunities. Give artists opportunities. You have a wall that you need painted for your business. Talk to me. I am a liaison for 1 million fucking artists in this town and out of town, all over the world. Please
And it's
come
really-
talk to me. And
Nurture your community as well. I think that's really where it's at. Like for me, I live in Franklinton.
The audience.
I really want the community to be involved in everything I'm doing. I reach out to the Gladden House. I reach out to Studios 129, which they have like a whole different subculture. There are all these like subcultures within your community that really can bring inspiration to you and help you grow. We have community gardens and all these amazing, you know, like a local brewery and a local like food business and coffee. We don't have a coffee shop. We should have a coffee shop. But Old Town East has all of those things.
I wanted to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to get the
One more thing.
audience
One more again.
involved.
One more again.
time. Sure.
One more thing. Also, please support the local music community. A lot of people, you can't tell me y'all don't like music, right? Well, it happens within our own community. There's lots of amazing bands, lots of places to go see amazing music. You don't have to wait till, you know, George Jones and Bonnie Raitt come into town. You can go see me play tomorrow at 2:40 in the afternoon, and it'll
I
change
think
your
that was the
life.
plug. It will. It'll change it.
Live art stage piece.
Mortimer, 240 Live Arts.
My man Gabor.
All right. Hey, I wanted to see if anyone in the audience had any questions or would like to say something about this. Anybody? Nobody?
No
You?
questions. Jim
You're-
Sweeney, do you have a question?
Aren't you our photographer? Okay.
Okay, I heard y'all. Okay, I heard y'all talk about the media, and you're in the media with 614 Magazine. I'm in the media as well with WCRS Radio, which happened to be just down the street of Yellow Brick. Had y'all's pizza, very good. I know what y'all mean by the small choices you have in media. I love 614 Magazine. I read it all the time as well. For you, for media, how do we grow and make an authentic community using our media, using our voice that we have in media?
So this is something that I would never put any personal pressure on someone because I know what this means. But there's a very odd thing that people don't understand about media because they take it for granted because it's always been there. Bobby's saying vote with your wallet, right? We're all saying vote with your wallet to support arts, support media, support music. Well, media only exists because of advertising sales. Doesn't matter whether you have a subscription. So like, there's this interesting catch-22 that's happened for 15 years that I've watched, especially in smaller communities where they watch their newspapers dwindle in ad revenue, resources dwindle, the paper gets worse as a product, and they say, well, I don't take the paper anymore because it's not as good as it used to be. So if you want media to be better and you have a business, you have to buy advertising. I won't tell you to do that, but that literally is the best way to make media stronger, is to vote with your wallet just like anything else in a capitalist society.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking.
That was a great
I think we have to go. I think the next band's coming up. Travis?
Also,
Travis is next?
Yeah, I'm going to do George Jones and Bonnie Raitt covers
Oh,
with Bobby
man.
Silver. We're the next band.
So stick
Thanks,
around
everyone.
for Travis. AJ, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bobby,
Thank you. Become an Ohio Art League member too. Thank you. Love you guys.
join in. In other words, do something with a lot of other people to make things better. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.